Anya here, and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. And today I am making a tote bag. Now I wanted to make yet another bag, but this time I wanted to use some of those yarns, some of those balls that I have bought or that you have lying about on your shelf, and you've got one left. You've got an odd ball here that you're not going to make anything with. You've got a chunky there, you've got a DK there. And sometimes those kinds of balls will just, take up space in our stash. We're not going to use them because on their own they're not enough for any project. But then again, you can't buy more because either you can't find them anymore or something like that. So there are certain yarns that you have in your stash that you just don't use. In total, I used 900 grams for my bag. So if you have 900 grams of yarn, you can make this bag. So this would be your opportunity to use up those balls. But just in case you don't have any balls lying around and you want a similar looking bag, we have made up a pack for you. So there's a link in the description box which will take you to a product on our website, and it will be a kit with everything in it that you need to make this bag. The different types of yarn, the handles and the thread. So do go and have a look if you want to make this bag and use a kit for it. I'm using a 7mm hook. And you will also need stitch markers. You will also need 2 handles. I bought mine from Amazon. These are 80 centimeters long and they're made from leather, or plastic leather. And I am going to leave a link to these in the description box down below if you want the same ones. To attach the handles to the bag, I am using some black waxed thread, which I also got from Amazon. The link is in the description box below. You will also need a sharp needle with a big enough eye so you can get the wax thread through it, but it has to be chosen in such a way that it also goes through the holes of your handle, like so. Okay, so for this tote bag, I used some yarns that I had lying around. Like I had this one ball of Jamesy Bread marble. I wasn't doing anything in particular with it. Then I had this, which Dirk brought me from the storage, curiosity, just because I was curious and I wanted to look at it. This is Purple Haze. I actually used the outside and the inside thread. So this gave me 2 threads for my thread of 8. Then this one here is a Knit Me Crochet Me. This is the color Nebula. So I used this one because I had this again because I wanted to do something with it, didn't get round to it. It was just sitting on my shelf. Then I added 4 balls of started DK balls. There was a wisteria as well. There was a pinkish one as well that I used in the beginning. I kept on replacing those as they went out, replacing not necessarily with the same color, because if you're using up stash you don't necessarily have balls of the same color. So I just chose a similar color and tied it on and used that. So these balls here gave me 8 strands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So right now this is my thread of 8 strands, and this is what I'm using at the moment. And as you can see, they are all coming from the balls. I was always like this, carefully rolling off like a meter, for example, and then crocheting that up, and then another little bit, and then crocheting that up. I've kept it in my IKEA wicker basket in here and pulling it up each time, and it worked really well. I did not get any strands, any knots unnecessarily, a little bit, but nothing that you would have said, oh, I'm wasting time detangling this. So this worked really well. And yes, it was a project that I did over quite a few weeks, just here and there, doing a few stitches because yes, they are hard on your hands, but I really enjoyed making it. So when you're working with these strands, as you can tell, not all the strands are the same thickness because we have a chunky in there, but that doesn't really matter. I used a 7mm hook, which probably is too small for all these strands together, but look, see, I can manage just to get them behind there. But I wanted to create a certain effect, and to get the effect of the bag actually standing up like this, you need to use a hook that is going to be too small so that the stitch you create is nice and tight. So I worked out that when I was using this 7, when I was trying it out in the beginning, of course, a few stitches, I wasn't losing a strand. So it was easy for me to use this. It was just catching all the strands, but I wasn't losing strands on a regular basis. So that way, you know that in fact the hook is fine. I can still crochet with it comfortably, and I am getting the effect that I want. My bag is standing up. So for today's tutorial, I will actually be using two strands of Aran, and I'm using a 4.5 hook. You need to make sure you have 8 strands with a 7mm. I just wanted to do it like this, so it would be clear to you what you have to do. You would be able to see the stitches better. And using 8 strands, yes, for a tutorial, it makes it a lot more difficult because it's difficult to see the stitches, and also I have to pick up 8 strands each time. So make sure that you are picking up each time you do a stitch, you are picking up the required amount of stitches. I will show you in a moment in the tutorial how I crochet with the 8 strands, but just for now, to get started, I would like to do that with a few less strands, let's put it that way. So let's get started. You are going to be holding your 8 strands together as if they were one. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with my 2. And you're going to make your slip knot as you usually do, making sure all the strands stay as one strand. There we go. Then we are going to chain 22 chains. So you yarn over and you pull through the loop on your hook. Now, did you hear I only said loop? Because I'm considering this, the 2 strands, or your 8 strands, as just the one loop. Okay, makes it easier for me, but also, this is what we need to do. We need to think of these as just the one strand. So I've done 3. Now let's do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. So those are my 22 starting chains, and now we are going to start going around the chain. So we're going to chain 1. This chain is going to be our turning chain, so it doesn't count for our base here, it counts as a turning chain. So chain 1, we're going to disregard this one, and in this chain here I'm going to place 4 single crochet. So I've just picked up this strand here, I've left 2 other strands behind, and I'm going to place 4 single crochets in there. 2, 3 and 4, and of course I use American terminology. Voila. So now I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to place one in the first single crochet I did, whichever way you can get into it, that's fine, whether it be under the V or not. Just make sure you indicate the first one and the last one that you did, the fourth one. Okay, right. Now we're going to go along the row here, placing 20 single crochets along the row. So one in each stitch, apart from the last one here. So let's get started. Find the location to go into where you're actually picking up those 8 strands, remember. Pull up your loop and you do your single crochet. There we go. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4, and we continue until we have 20 stitches done. So I've done my 20 single crochets, and before we continue I would just like to talk about size. With the 2 Aran yarns that I'm using here, this is about 16 centimeters. But on my bag with the 8 strands, my chain when I was in this position was 24 centimeters. So of course you are going to get a size difference. I'm doing this one as a demonstration purpose with only 2 strands, but yours will be bigger than this. So yours should be about 22 to 24 centimeters in length. Okay. So now we get to this one here, the last stitch, and once again, like we did with the first stitch, we are going to use this one to make the center of half a circle, because that's how we are going to create a oval for our base. So we create a half circle here, straight lines here, and a half circle there. So in here, just like before, we are going to place 4 single crochets, but I've just done the first one, and if I can get hold of these things I will straight away place my stitch marker in the first one so I don't lose track of that, and then I'm going to place another 3, 1, 2 and 3, voila. This is my 4th single crochet, so I am going to place a stitch marker in there as well. There we go. And now, as you can tell, this has gotten a little bit bigger, so I'm going to pull this really tightly. And now I am going to lay my yarn here across here and take it with me into the stitches, because this fabric, creating this fabric, however much fun it is hard to sew in all your ends. And if you have 8 ends to sew in, yeah, I know. Okay, so here we are working on that straight edge again. We are going to do 20 single crochets. So let's get started on the first one. And we are picking up the rest of the strand. So let me just put the end to the side. But here, as you can see, I'm picking up all the other strands left over from that chain that I did not use earlier. And so here I am now doing my 20 single crochets, and I am also taking along, incorporating into my stitch, my ends. So make sure you don't start crocheting with those ends, okay? So you're not only picking up 16 strands from your V, from the chain that you're picking up, but also another 8 strands from your ends that are lying there. And to make things extra tight, you could give your yarns a little tug after you have finished your stitch, just to make it nice and tight, and this will also help create a sturdier bag. We are creating quite a thick fabric, and this will make it look even better. I will meet you at the end of the row. So I've now made it to the end of my row here. This is the stitch with the stitch marker, and I'm going to go under that one to do my slip stitch. Now we're going to have to ignore this slip stitch because otherwise we'll have too many stitches here, okay? But I'm now considering this as my location for my first stitch for my next round. So I'm going to do a chain, and then in the stitch with the stitch marker, so that's the very next one, I'm going to take the stitch marker out so it doesn't hinder my entrance here. So in here I'm going to place 2 single crochets. So now when you go under the strands of the V, make sure that you are picking up all those 8 strands, or actually 16. Okay, so here we have 2 single crochets. Here, look, this is the first 2 that I have to pick up, and those are the first 2. So make sure you go down low enough under all the strands that are lying horizontally, and then when you come out, that you don't bring any of those 8 strands back with you. So here again we go under all those strands. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to replace my stitch marker. So I've done 3 lots of 2, so this here is my first stitch. So make sure you place your stitch marker in the first and the last stitch of your half a circle here. So this is round 2, and we are doing 2 stitches in our part of our base, that is the circular bit or the half circular, and that means we are doing the usual increases that we normally do for a circle, for a flat circle. So in round 2 you place 2 stitches in each stitch, and then here along the straight bit we are just going to be placing single crochets, so no increases there. So 1 single crochet under the 20 stitches. And this part here is about, well, a good centimetre wide. Now the one in here is about 3.5 centimetres wide. So that again is quite a big difference. Okay, so just so that you realize that yes, I am showing you exactly what to do for this big bag here, but it is a little bit smaller because I am only using 2 strands. You will be using 8 strands, and those 8 strands could be a combination of DK and chunky. So if you only had DK yarns, you would, I think, be using 9 strands. But if you can replace 2 DK yarns by 1 chunky, then you will have a strand less. But your strand itself, the thickness of the strand, let me show you. So the thickness of the strand that you are making here, see, is quite thick. In comparison, of course, to just having the 1. Or even having 2. Okay, so that's the secret to making this bag, where you will be able to have a good thick sturdy bag that can withstand quite a lot in there, and that will be standing up as well. And using the stitch markers here really makes things a lot easier, because yes, I was talking But look, I stopped because I saw the stitch marker, and of course now it is time for me to do my increases here for a flat circle. So we are going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch. And yeah, before I do any more stitches, I'm just going to replace my stitch marker in the very first one that I just did. So another one here, and 2 more here. Oh yeah, I thought, hang on, I've done something wrong here. See, when you start doing this a little bit quicker, when you get comfortable, make sure you always have the required amount of strands on your hook. And I could feel there that I was missing one, so that happens, of course. Although it is a little bit more slow going sometimes, the thickness of the fabric that we are creating is more important than, you know, the slow creation of the fabric. Right, so let's do this side, and I will meet you for the next increase for our half circle. So here I've just done my last stitch here. We need to just do a slip stitch into that first stitch there, making sure I pick up enough strands. So don't just go under these 2 strands here. Make sure you go low enough so you catch all your strands. Pull back the yarn and make a slip stitch. There we go. So chain 1. Now in this round we are going to place 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and straight away let's put our stitch marker in. Then in the next stitch we are going to place 2 single crochets. Voila. 1 in the next, 2 in the next. 1 stitch in the next stitch, 2 in the next one, and 1, and you end in 2. So let's take out the stitch marker and place 2 single crochets in that next stitch, and then straight away replace the stitch marker into this last one. Voila, there we go. And as you can see, this is now becoming a nice circle, but only half, of course. And you've got a hole here. This happened because, of course, we were working in that chain. Here we were able to close it up, so you might just want to consider going into it with a darning needle with a thread on it, going around it and then trying to pull it together. But I'm not worried about it. I'm going to be putting large things in my tote bag, or I might even line it. So if you line it, then you certainly don't need to worry about it, and you can just, you know, cover it up with the lining so there won't be any holes in your bag. So I'm now going to do the rest of this row with the same increase as I did here on this side. I will meet you here to tell you what the next increase is here. So as you can see here, this is the first round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here on my demonstration piece, I have now done 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let me just finish this round here. Slip stitch into there, disregard it, and then we are chaining 1. We are then going to start with a new lot of increases. This is row 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're doing 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and in the next stitch 2 single crochets. Voila. So that's your increase. This time, before I continue, I'm going to put my stitch marker in because they're being a very good help. Now we do 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And we do this until, of course, we reach the next stitch marker. Voila. And then here, yeah, 1, 1, and then 2. So it always works out that you're doing 2 in this position here. So let's continue. 1, 1, and then 2. Voila. Stitch marker back in, and off I go doing my side again here, and then I will do the same increase on this side. I'll do the side and I'll meet you here. So I've just closed my round, going to get started on my next one here with doing that slip stitch and then the single crochet in that first stitch, single crochet in the next stitch. So that's 2. Let me first replace the stitch marker. It might be obvious, but it's just, you know, it gets a habit and it's nice to just have them there. So we're doing 2 single crochets on their own, so a 3rd single crochet, and then now here I'm doing 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So this time we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th round. In the 5th round, the ratio of increase is 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. So 1, 1, 1, and 2. And of course, each time I am making sure I've got my 2 strands, but you have to make sure you've got your 8 strands. Okay, look at this. So yes, I'm going to continue. So I have now done 5 rounds, and of course we've created a flat part here, and we have created 2 half circles on the edges, and this is that same pattern but on the big bag, and of course done with 8 strands. I'm going to have to move my camera up for you to see all of it. So there we go. So this is it in the viewfinder. Let me hold this against it. Look, can you see the difference? So now we are ready to start working on the sides, and to make the difference between the base and the side, I have worked in the back loop, so we have a nice edge to our bag here. So first of all here, you're going to go in the back loop, okay, and you're going to do a very tight single crochet. Now this is going to be the outside, this is going to be the inside, so we're going to be placing our single crochets in the back loop only. So if you look at your stitches, this is a front loop, this is the back loop. Of course, I'm picking up 2 strands. Make sure that you are picking up those 8 strands, okay? And this is what we are doing all along. So no more increases in the circle side here, and we will only be doing a few increases to make our bag a little bit wider in a few rows. This first round is done in the back loop only. Voila, look, and you can make them stand up already. So let's place our single crochet in the back loop only all along this row here. Okay, so I've made it all the way around. I know I've gone all the way around because I started at this stitch marker, and you know, so this is going to be the end of my row. But to make it a little bit easier on ourselves, I'm going to go up in a spiral. So here I'm just doing my last stitch in my back loop, and then from here where the stitch marker is in there, I'm going to start going under. No, see, make sure you catch all your strands. Okay, I'm going to go under both the strands of the V, which of course for me is 4 strands. For you this will be 16. Okay, so you're going to start going in circles. Soon you won't notice where your start or your end is, okay, and that's fine. But we are going to do some increases. Now the increases we're only going to do on the side here. So I'm going to place a stitch marker just sort of about in the middle. Doesn't have to be correct, but just in that area. And so each time I come past here, I'm going to do 2 stitches, but not in this round. So we're going to do 2 rounds without increases, then 1 with. 2 without, 1 with. And the only place that you're going to increase is this and here. So we're doing the same thing on the other side, just so that those stitch marks will remind you of it. Voila. And so in my next round I will be doing 2 single crochets there, but I'm going to do them for you here just so that you see what I mean by that. So you just are going to make rounds and rounds of single crochets in the both loops. Then every third round, so another one and then, but I'm going to show you here, you're going to place 2 single crochets. Voila. And that's all you need to do to increase, and then you continue with your 1 single crochet in each stitch. If you wanted to, you could move this up so it's closer to your viewpoint, but I have only done this in about 3 instances. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that gave me a nice little bit of increase at the base, at the lower part of my bag, and then I stopped doing that and I just went spiraling on and on until it was tall enough. This is sort of the shape of the bag. I've done a few increases here, but I'm happy with the width here, so I'm keeping it at that. So this is what mine looks like at the moment. The base of my bag is 37 centimeters by just about 13 centimeters. So I started from about 37 centimeters or about 14 inches, and the opening at the top now is, yes, nearly 20 inches or 52 centimeters. So that's increased a little bit there, and that's great for the shape of my bag. Okay, so now for the part where I show you what it's like to actually crochet with 8 threads. Okay, I am making bigger movements. I am using quite a bit of strength in my hands to do this. Okay, and in the end I think it's worth it, but you have to pace yourself. So I've been working on this on and off for a while. I just left it in a place where I can just sit and do some stitches or even 1 round and then put it down again. So making sure you have those 8 strands on your hook at all times, okay? Not that you have to sort of start counting them each time, but in a way, if 1 strand doesn't come along, I sort of feel it almost. Sometimes there's an extra strand sort of in a slightly different direction here, and I know that's the one from there. Here and there I have, and certainly in the beginning, like for instance here, can you see that there's a little loop there? That's when I missed that strand, okay? But I don't think I did it that often, so for me it's fine. And even if you wanted to make a liner for this bag, then that's not visible at all. So when I can do this easily, of course you know that you've got all your strands. If you can't lift your hook from here, you know that there's a strand from this still on there, okay? And that's when you'll have to just undo the stitch and do it again. That's the easiest way. See, look, here I feel I can't move. And I think this bit here, look, it's a strand that goes into a slightly different direction. If I just put that over there, then it might work. But now we've got that strand underneath. So, like I said, undo, pull everything out, readjust, and make sure you go under all the strands of your V. And there is one strand that I hadn't. Yeah, there we go. Voila. And off we go again. Now, do keep an eye out for when you run out of colour, because obviously not all your balls are going to end the same time. Look here, this one is finished. So I'm going to add another one to it. I'm going to add DK to that. I have had to do this before and I've always chosen approximately the same colour. So this time I'm going to add Aspen because this is the same but still a little bit different. So what I do is I just hold them together and I do a knot just like this. So if you then continue crocheting, you will notice that here you have the knot and then you have those extra strands. Now those extra strands you would normally have to sew in, but it's not easy to do that. So what I'm suggesting you do is to just keep on crocheting, and for this length of time it will be like 1 or 2 stitches that you will crochet with 10 strands, and that way your ends will be sewn in. So for instance here I did this and I've just got this little bit to cut off. Somewhere else I did it as well here, but down here I forgot to do it. So I'm going to have to use a needle and thread and just, you know, sort of make it disappear. But yes, it's a lot easier if you just take them along and yeah, get rid of the ends in that way. So this is what my tote bag looks like for now. I am absolutely loving the colours. I really was not expecting it to be such a beautiful shade. You know, the colour variations are just gorgeous. And even on the inside it's looking nice. And yes, so I am here, I am continuing slowly but surely. As it is a spiral, it's quite easy to just keep going. You just keep on doing the stitches and keep going until, of course, you reach the height that you would like for your bag, or until all of the yarns that you had put aside are used up. And if that's then not enough, you can just put this tote aside and wait for some more leftover yarns that you might have and add them to it. I'm not worried about it not being in the same sort of vein of colours. As long as you're using stash yarn for it, I think it's fine. So this is where I'm at, and I hope you will enjoy this update, and I will see you when we are ready for some handles. Okay, so I have done about 27 rounds going up with my single crochets with my 8 strands here. I finished crocheting just about here because, of course, because we are spiraling, there's not really an end to it, so we're going to have to make this disappear. And I think we are also going to be able to use the handle to hide that behind. Okay, so let's leave it like this for now. Let's first work out where I'm going to be putting my handles. So let's see if I can put my whole bag in the viewfinder. No, that's going to be hard. So I'm going to measure how wide this is, and it's just about 50 centimeters wide. Okay, and that's about 20 inches. So the middle of 50 would be 25, so that's about there. And then if I go 5 centimeters to this side, that's not enough really. So if I go 10 centimeters to that side and place my handle here, and then 10 centimeters that side and place my handle, I think that's a nice distance. So that means I'm going to be placing my handles at 15 and 35. So I'm just going to use some stitch markers and I'm going to indicate those locations. So let's indicate the 4 places, so 1535 on this side and 1535 on this side, where we're going to be placing our handles. Now, just to have an idea of what it would look like, just hold them there, and yeah, I think that's right. I think that looks okay. Yeah, okay. So let's now see how we're going to deal with this one here, because we need to just lower it a little bit. So I'm going to take off 2 stitches. I'm going to reinsert my hook, hopefully in all the strands. There we go, voila. And let's do a slip stitch. There we go, and let's do another one. Voila, that's made it go down a little bit. Cut off all your strands, pull them through. There we go. And now what you could still do as well is go into here and pull all your strands to the inside. There we go. So yes, you can see obviously that there is a little bit of a wave there, but obviously it's going to be behind our handle, like so. So I think that's fine. And yes, there will be all these ends to work away. So use a darning needle and just, go in with all the individual ends. Make your way all over this fabric here just to hide them. Okay, so that shouldn't be too hard to do. Okay, let's sew on the handles now. Okay, so I have already attached my first handle because, practice makes perfect. So this is what it looks like. I think it looks absolutely fabulous. So on the other side, let me turn this around. I have already done the second one as well, and as you can see, it's just about in the same location here. And here, of course, we had the location where we have finished our round. So this is what it looks like there. But of course, once you are going to take your handle and make sure that it's not twisted. Okay, so start with one side, of course, and then do the second side. And once you have it there, look, that's not going to be so obvious that we finished our rounds there. So I'm just going to get rid of the stitch mark because I think it's going to get in the way. So this is where we are going to be attaching our handle. So what I did, I've got here a thread from this. It's about 75 centimeters. So for each handle I used 75 centimeters. Put it on your needle. And I started from the inside. So on the inside of your bag, just about where you're going to be attaching, about here, a bit lower down, I go in, come back out again, and then bring your end so it disappears into the stitch, and then here you're going to do a couple of loop the loops and try and do a little bit of a knot so that you attach the end there. So already you're weaving it in really, but just so that it is absolutely secure, because of course handles, they need to be very, very secure. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go through the fabric here so that we are on this side. So then you take your handle, make sure it's not twisted, put your needle into the first one there. I'm going to go round like that. So put it through there, place it where you're going to position it, and then go through it again and go straight through the fabric. There we go. Then you go to the next hole. You try and find the location, of course, blindly from the back. Poke your needle through, make sure you try and get through the hole. Pull your thread through and then go back to the previous hole, go in it and pull everything tight. Then go to the next hole, again, quite blindly, or just peeping under maybe here, and then finding the hole. There we go. Voila, and this is how you will continue all along until, of course, it looks like this. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And to be honest, I can hardly see where I've put my black threads, but yeah, it's very, very secure. Okay, so I have gone all the way around. I'm now at the back again. And then here, you're just going to find another bit here to sew in the end. There we go. I hope I have inspired you to try this project. If you would like to make approximately the same bag, we have a kit available on our website. That kit contains enough yarn to make the bag. It also contains the handles and the black thread, so you need your own stitch markers and your own crochet hook. There is a link in the description box which will take you straight to the product on our website. However, if you have lots of stash yarn at home and want to use that up, then there is also a link in the description box to my Amazon shop, and in there I have listed the handles and the black thread, so you can have the same handles as well. I hope you will have a go at making this bag. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!